Go on tips on how to survive the tough economic times. I'd like your comments on the earlier story that we ran, where this woman called Sarah actually went through tough economic times, where her business was actually raised down, and already she had a loan in the bank, which she had to also ensure that she is able to maybe meet the cost of maybe ensuring that this loan is repaid back. When you find yourself in such kind of a situation, how do you go about it?
I think one is she just espouses the Kenyan entrepreneurial spirit. Mm-hmm. Kenyans are very resilient, despite being in very tough business environment. She just espouses the characteristic of the Kenyan entrepreneur, and I think it's a big congratulations to her.
Yeah, because she started with 1,000 shillings, and right now the business is worth over 25 million shillings over a period of like 10 years. That spirit is very critical when it comes to surviving maybe through these tough economic times, right? It's
good that you mentioned 10 years because that's a long period of time. Most of us assume that for you to run a business successfully, you need to, you can succeed in 1 or 2 years. It takes time, it takes hard work for you to build, to really build a solid business.
Okay, and right now we are seeing a lot of companies shutting down. You're seeing a lot of layoffs. Companies are laying off workers. They're cutting costs. How do you, as a businessman or as an entrepreneur, maybe apart from cutting costs and laying off, survive maybe through this hard economic times that we are seeing currently in the economy?
I think the easy option for most companies is always laying off staff, because that's a fixed overhead. But I think there are 3 general strategies that probably a business can use to maybe survive whichever tough economic environment. These strategies are around revenue, cost, and just general strategies. In terms of revenue, we should try to focus on what we call revenue drivers. Most of the time, whenever you make sales, you don't know what actually drives these sales. So it would be good for a business person or an entrepreneur to actually study what are these revenue drivers that are really pushing revenue up or down. This could be telephone inquiries, could be hits on your website, could be walk-in clients. Usually, like in a shop, for instance, you would have 10 walk-in clients and 3 would buy. So the business person should ask themselves, if 3 bought, why did the 7 not buy? Or if it's telephone calls, 100 came in, 3 were converted. Why is the rest not converted? And the sooner you start asking, addressing these questions, then you would be able to determine or increase your revenue based on real data. The second revenue strategy probably would be around. It's based on the notion that it's more costly for you to get a new client than an existing one. So most of the time, as we strive to grow a business, we're always looking for that new client. Yet we already have existing clients that you can actually cross-sell new products to. So those are the 2 revenue strategies probably a business could use. In terms of costing, other than laying off staff, there are other options around either renegotiating your supply cost. If probably you're a mama mboga selling mboga, you either change supplier or go to your supplier and try to negotiate the cost downwards, at least to cushion yourself. If, for example, you are a hotel, you run a restaurant, you could either cut down on your product mix. Either if you are cooking the food with hoho and dania, you can probably reduce on the hoho and the dania and just remain with the basics of tomatoes and onions.
Right, but most businesses tend to overlook such revenue strategies, and they go for layoffs, as you've just said, and also maybe cutting costs and maybe looking at various areas that they need maybe to cut cost. But then again, does an entrepreneur, before even he goes to that level of laying off, need to look at where every shilling is going to, and to ensure that every shilling that is spent efficiently, right?
Yes. Like I said, a lot of us just sit and wait. We just have our websites, we have our branding, but we never really query how this revenue is coming in. And I think it's high time that we start, as entrepreneurs, start querying. Bigger organizations can do that because they have analytics and have all these tools. But even someone with a shop can actually just ask, other than making sales, is if you see clients coming in and walk out, can you just take a second or a minute just to ask them, what is it that you're looking for and how can I be able to satisfy your need? But
how then do you prepare? Because we've seen, like, right now, the last 3 years have been very tough on businesses. And you've seen most shut down. We're doing some statistics and they were showing, like, over maybe 1,000 businesses have actually closed down. How do you prepare?
I think, speaking from an SME perspective, SMEs have struggled for the longest time. I think this struggle is only coming to the fore because we've had listed companies issue profit warnings. But if you look at the small medium enterprise sector has struggled and they've been able to survive. And basically just employing simple strategies. For instance, if we're talking about employees, you'd find that SMEs are very humane when you're talking, when in regards to employees. For instance, you'd find that instead of laying off, you probably have a discussion around, can you increase your productivity for the same pay, rather than just sending you home.
Okay, but something else we have seen businesses do is mixing up everything. Like you see, you don't have maybe accounts for your business and you're mixing it up with your personal accounts. How do you now make sure that you have a balance?
I think usually, if you look at the struggles that SMEs face, one is lack of management skills. So you'd find that by the time you're entering into entrepreneurship, chances are you don't really know or understand how to successfully run a business. Hence, you learn on the go, and that's one issue around corporate governance. So I think best practice is usually you try as much as possible to separate the business from yourself, and pay yourself a salary, even if it means 2 shillings.
Okay, yes. But you need to have a business continuity plan, right, from the word go.
Yes, of course. What I usually try to encourage is to slowly adopt these practices, because for the reality is small businesses struggle and they don't have cash or even cash flow to actually afford an accountant. So I think the best strategy would be for you to progressively apply accounting principles, maybe by starting with a black book, writing your sales and your expenses on a daily basis, and as the business scales or grows, then try to incorporate an accountant, either as an outsourced service or a full-time accountant in the business.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming to our studios. I'm afraid that's all the time that we had.
That
has been Victor Otieno, who is the Managing Director at VIFFA Consulting, talking about how you as a business or as an entrepreneur can be able to survive through these current tough economic times. Now we take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be telling you what's happening in the world of sports.